Hello and welcome to another Rugby League Down South podcast. Coming up this week, fan turned mascot turned professional. Young Broncos JOE KEYES signs up for the next 3 seasons as 2 other young London-bred players do so as well. We'll hear from JOE KEYES. The London Broncos head coach JOEY GRIMA updates us on the future plans for the club. We talk to the coach of London Scholars, Joe Mabu, as they get championship performance of the week for their win at Oxford. And we'll find out more about the Rugby League Business Network from founder Mark Ramsdale. So 3 Joes and 1 Mark coming up on the programme today. We'll start with your thoughts, and Medway Dragons saying on Twitter this week, good away wins for their league's under 15s, under 17s and the first grade squads. But the real heroes continue to be the under 13s. Full story on their website. George sent me a tweet at Ian Ramsdale saying disappointing loss for the Southampton boys against Medway. Scrappy game with 2 iffy sin bins. Final score 22-24 to the Dragons. George, thank you for that. You can tweet any time of the week at Ian Ramsdale. Use the hashtag RLDS for Rugby League Down South, and we'll get your thoughts on the programme. Also worth mentioning before we move on, the London Broncos and the under 19s and under 16s both recording wins over Wakefield at the weekend. Fortunately the first team couldn't do the same thing. With under 19s an emphatic 36-12 victory. They led 22-0 at the break. The under 16s, it was a bit tighter, but a last minute try from Roshan Johnson. The game locked at 20 points apiece. Johnson racing clear as the hooter sounded to claim a hat-trick and a vital win for his side. So 26-20 the final score. What a great story. I'm sure Roshan Johnson is a name we might hear on this podcast a little bit more over the next few years. But let's turn our attention to this week's interviews, and first up at JOE KEYES. The Broncos signing up 3 homegrown players as they plan for their future. JOE KEYES on a 3-year deal, Toby Everett 3-year deal, Harvey Burnett on a 1-year deal. KEYES a scrum half, Everett's a forward, Burnett an outside back. All have come through the Broncos Academy and Southern Amateur clubs. Broncos do seem to be investing in their future and putting their faith in the young homegrown products. And the story of JOE KEYES is a fascinating tale. He's been a fan of the club since he was a kid. Then he was a mascot on a couple of occasions, I think. Then he joined the scholarship, he became an academy player, and now signs a full-time professional contract. Would he be the first 5-year-old to spend all of his career at Broncos and sign at age 18? Quite possibly so. Here is his story. I had a great chat with a very nice chap.
Joe, well, the club have announced that they're signing 3 of their youngest prospects, of which you're one of them. Happy to stay on and continue your career at Broncos?
Yeah, really happy. It's been a dream since I was a little one. Been following the club since I was about 5 years old, so to finally get a call up like that is a big deal, and I'm happy, yeah.
So Broncos has been a big part of your life even before you started playing?
Yeah, so I've been coming to watch, used to be mascots and stuff when I was really little, running out with the team at the start of the games and stuff, so eventually hopefully running out myself playing would be something I've wanted to do since then. And the club's obviously been a massive part of my life. I've been here since I was 12, so to finally get the reward after another hard work starts now, but after all these years it feels really rewarding.
You've been obviously progressing through in those years that you've been with the club, and you're on the verge now, aren't you? You're on the brink of that Super League main squad, and although maybe the club won't be in Super League next year, but you'll be a fully fledged London Broncos and part of their main squad for next year.
I mean, yeah, that's the idea. I've obviously spoke to Joey and other people involved at the club, and I feel that I'd like to be part of on the verge of breaking through to the first team, and just got to do my own little bits and keep on improving week in, week out, and hopefully I'll get there, yeah.
In terms of next year, do you mind that the club might not be in Super League? Obviously that is a big draw for players.
For me personally, no, because I haven't experienced Super League. I haven't been around that sort of environment yet, and obviously hopefully I'd like to, but I mean, going down to Championship I think would be good for the club. I mean, start getting a bit of success and attracting more fans and stuff, and I think it would be really beneficial in the long run, especially to get a bit of success for the club and start winning some games.
And I guess as well, if you've got young prospects like yourself and the other 2 guys that have been signed up today, that it shows that there is a a future and a nucleus in London, which is London born and bred, and it's a great place to start building that club back up.
Yeah, I mean, at the weekend we had 2 good wins with the 16s and the 19s against Wakefield, so it does go to show. And last year we won 9 games in total with the academy, so that's a good rep on. We beat Leeds last year, beat Wigan last year, so we can do it, and it shows that we're producing some good players. I mean, there's people in the first team already, people who've moved on like Sarge and Clubby off to Wigan, so it does show we can do it.
It says in this press release that the club have put out that there was interest from other Super League clubs. Did you have offers? Could you have gone somewhere else?
Nothing official, but I mean, I've always wanted to stay here. This is my home, This is where I'm happy, and I know everyone at the club. I know how the club works. So at the moment, I'm still young. I'm only 18, so I've still got plenty of years left in me, hopefully. So at the minute, I wasn't really looking to go elsewhere. I've always sort of wanted to play for London and pull on that blue and black jersey.
Did the fact that you've been involved with the club for so long, and like you say, being a mascot many years ago, I suppose it wasn't too many years ago, was it? But did something like, did those experiences really draw you into this club and make you feel part of it and make you not want to leave?
Yeah, I mean, coming through from the age of 12 up, or even when I was younger, the club, following the club, supporting the club's always been a massive part of my life. And rugby league in general, I watch it every weekend. I've been watching it every weekend since I was 6 years old. So that's definitely had a big influence on my decision, and I'm really, really pleased.
And I think I'm right in saying that your dad is a football man. He works with Arsenal in their community department. How does he feel about you being in rugby league? Is it fully? I know he's fully supportive of you, but he didn't fancy taking you into football.
Oh, no, he's always been a massive rugby league man. He only wears the Arsenal badge. He's a rugby league man at heart. He got me into rugby league. He used to play a bit of union when I was about 9, but since then he's been a great role model for me and driven me places, driven me up and down the country for doing England 16s, and he's just been the rock behind me, for this journey. And now it's my turn to give back to him and push on and keep progressing.
I guess he helps out with the 19s as well, doesn't he, this year? So, he has been a big help and a big part of, bringing you through to this position. Yeah,
he knows all the boys in the 19s. He's been working with us since we were little, coaching us at amateur clubs and stuff. So he's good to have around the place, and he looks after things, and he's just good to be around the club. Good bloke to have around and keep promoting the club,
And you as a youngster, even, you were a Brentford Eel, and then you were a Medway Dragon before coming through to Broncos. What do you remember of your days in the amateur ranks there?
Well, I started off actually at Redbridge Raiders. My dad started a team himself, playing there under 9s and under 11s, and then moved on to Brentwood, who massive help to me. Brentwood, that's where I sort of, settled down, and that's the club I was at for the longest period of time. I was there since I was about 12 till the age of 15, so that was a great experience. Played with my mates from school, so it was nice to sort of have that bond, and a bit the likes of Alex Walker. Played with him, he's now in the 19s. He just coming through with him and playing together, it was just awesome every Saturday, And albeit the junior league, the competition wasn't great back then. Like, I see it's progressing now, but it's good to see now. The competition in junior league's getting so much stronger, like with the Origin, the North against the South. It's really good to see all the young talent on show all the time, and us boys from the 19s last year went down and helped out coaching in London Origin, and it's real good to see all the youngsters coming through, and it just does go to show that we can produce players down here.
Who was that was putting you off as they wandered by?
That was Jordan Atkins. He's an old Aussie. He's got
old.
Yeah, he's very old. He ain't been playing plays a couple of games, then gets injured 10-2. So he's having a laugh. He's getting a nice tan in the weather. But he's a good bloke. They're all good blokes down there, and I really, really welcomed me into the first team, which is nice.
What about the other 2 guys that have been signed up for next year as well? In addition to John Wallace from last week, Harvey Burnett and Toby Everett. What are they in terms of players? How good are they?
Yeah, Toby, tough as anything. Like, really came on last year. He's in the England Academy squad. He's really good forward, middle bloke, strong, wax blokes. Then you got Harvey, who's very fast, very strong runner. Plays out in the centres on my side, so me and him have quite a good partnership, going on. So in defence and stuff, looks after me out there because I'm not as big as everyone else.
I was going to say, you're playing in the halves, is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, scrum half.
And have you played anywhere else? Have you moved through to that position?
Well, originally when I was really young, I was a hooker because I was the only one that could really pass the ball, so needed me in there in a team full of big lads, just getting the ball around the park. But as I've got older, once I hit about 13, Broncos decided to move me to half, so I've played there ever since. And I played a bit of fullback at amateur for Medway and stuff only a couple of times, but I think half's where I'm going to play.
For years, people said about London that the development that were coming through, it was not necessarily the key playmakers, not necessarily the big men either, but we're now starting to see that London are bringing through the playmakers. Let's just take Sargi and Clubby, for example, who left last year. Big man up front and, one of the creative men. So it is now starting to produce those players that are really good footy players.
Yeah, it's especially with the likes of James Woodburn-Hall as well, another one who debuted last year. He is a halfback, really skillful. Sarge, as you say, there's other people around, and it just goes to show that we are smart. We're not just bunch of big lads from the south coming up to play up there. We are smart. We don't know how to play the game, and it just goes. Yeah, as you say, it goes to show with the likes of Sarge, in Wigan, have just been selected for the England train-on squad. It just goes to show that there is no limit on what we can produce down there.
What about the 19s this year? Couple of good wins. It's always a tough season in the 19s, but wherever you go. But you seem to have been doing all right this year. Yeah,
we've been doing all right. We tend to be a bit up and down, so we'll have a really good performance, then follow it up with a poor one, and it's just finding that consistency. I think last year was pretty similar, but I reckon this year if we push on the back end of the year, we had a good win at Wakey on the weekend. So if we can build on that and just keep consistently performing and staying as a team, then I think the playoffs are easily reachable.
And how nice is it to be training full time and not have to sort of fit it in around everything else you do? Because I guess as 19s, with the travelling you're doing and everything that you do with all that, it must be nice to not have to put that around all your education as you were before.
Yeah, now I've finished school now, so it's lovely training in the sun, not in the evening where it's cold. Get a nice tan on, but it's good as well. Barnet's nearer to home for me. Travelling, like the academy we train down at Feltham, so that's a long old. I live the other way on the M25 from here, so it's good to nice and more local. Only half an hour to training rather than an hour and a half, so it's pretty ideal, and it's just gone to show me that this is what I want to do in the future. It's the lifestyle that I want to live, and I really want to challenge myself and push on for next year.
Those journeys must have been a mission down to Feltham.
They were, yes. But raps to my mum and dad for taking me down all these years, because it used to be every Wednesday and occasional Friday for when we was on scholarship for 4 years. But now I can drive now, so there's a bit of pressure off them. But it's nice. It's nice to be able to just come to Barnet rather than all the way around to Heathrow.
18 years old, he's Joe Keys. He'll be with the London Broncos for the next 3 years. He signed a 3-year deal. Toby Everett on 3 years. Harvey Burnett for the next 1 year. Again, more young Londoners committing themselves to the club, to the squad, for the future. As Joey Grima builds something for next year, you've got to say it's looking highly likely that the club are going to be in the second tier next year with that defeat at Wakefield. We'll hear the thoughts of Joey Grima on that in just a second. But as the squad now starts to build for 2015, if you are on Twitter and you use lists, maybe you're a user of TweetDeck, etc., I've set up a London Broncos 2015 list for players and squad members and staff of the club for 2015. On the list then, Jonathan Wallace, Harvey Burnett, Joe Keys and Toby Everett so far at the moment. Michael sent me a message on Twitter at Ian Ramsdale saying, after the news about the 3 young Londoners, he says, good, we need to be able to keep our best young players to create a sustainable club. Absolutely, couldn't agree more. Sustainable is the key word, isn't it? Bad News Gleed said at Ian Ramsdale, good news. Kind of going against your Twitter handle there, Paul. Thank you for that. And Captain Chaos at Ian Ramsdale. I like to do a lot of things around. I like a lot of things around the Broncos at the moment. Shame this enthusiasm and drive wasn't in evidence years ago. I mentioned to Captain Chaos that it sort of ebbs and flows and goes in waves. There's never really been a long-term plan. Seems like there's a short, medium-term plan at the moment, but maybe it's the long-term plan. It's difficult to have a long-term plan when you can't nail down a deal where you want to sort of secure things for long-term. So it's maybe going to be difficult, and it maybe will go like this for the next few years. You never know. But also, if you believe, if what I believe is true, that's what I'm trying to say. You're probably going to see a few more Broncos signings of the non-homegrown variety as well in the next few weeks, so keep tuned. I think you might see some news over the next couple of weeks. People have asked me about names and what I know, so nothing really, other than I think over the next few weeks you may well see more. That's pretty much as I know. And excuse me stating the obvious, but it is clear that Broncos are planning to be a full-time club, it appears, in 2015. Hasn't yet been said. Still trying to talk to the powers that be at the Broncos, other than Joe Grima, but we will do that over the next few weeks and confirm that. But yes, these players being signed up on full-time professional contracts, so it's as good as official, isn't it? Jenny on Twitter saying, great to see the press relating to the under-19 signings. Broncos are obviously planning for 2015 and beyond. Hashtag RLDS. And Andy saying, really good stuff. The rebuilding work has begun and much needed. For once, they're not trying to rush or get a quick fix. And Michael also saying, one day our best locally produced players will stay en masse and create a solid club. Shame the likes of Mason Caton-Brown have to leave. Rumours are that Mason Caton-Brown is leaving at the end of the season. Again, still not yet confirmed. Thank you for your thoughts on Twitter at Ian Ramsdale. The hashtag is RLDS, or you can email rldownsouth@gmail.com. Let's hear from the London Broncos head coach then. Whilst I was down at the training ground, thought I'd pick the brains of the head coach. Mathematically not confirmed, but to be fair, isn't it? Broncos will be in the second Rugby League tier from 2015 after 19 Super League seasons. The Broncos now holding the record for the worst ever start to a Super League season. 16 straight losses after that defeat to Wakefield on Friday night. The Broncos' effort that they've put in, for me, since being rescued back on the 13th of December 2013, I think they deserve at least one win this season, and they've still got a couple of games in which it could well happen. But interestingly how rescued on the 13th of December 2013, for me, effectively relegated on the 13th of June 2014, just 7 months later. And I don't know, I don't think there's any other Friday the 13th on the way this year where they play a game, but it's surely not long before the relegation to the second tier is confirmed. I'm sure when seeing what had happened on Friday, especially with the how the game looked at half time, I was gutted, as I'm sure the squad were as well, that they didn't get that win. London Faithful on Twitter saying that Grima promotes youth and it won't be the route that they go in terms of promoting old Australians, shipping them in. That was a comment I had on Twitter. And Gary saying experience and a settled, committed squad is key. So let's hear then from the man himself, the head coach of the London Broncos. Here's Joey Grima.
Joey, you just signed up 3 of the promising young Londoners, I guess, is how they'd be referred to for the future. You've obviously put your faith in the local talent here.
Yeah, I certainly have, and it's something that I've identified moving forward with these 3 lads. They are not only quality players, but quality people, and that's the type of people that we want at our place.
Many of them have been at the club for a while. They see their future here, and it's great, I guess, for them to consider that this is a great place for them to learn, to develop, and to progress through the ranks.
100%, and part of that, you brought up a good thing here, Ramo, is that we didn't actually deal with the agents. We dealt with mum and dad because they have come through the program, have come through their system. So it was very comforting, and really enjoyed talking to mums and dads and just seeing where they saw the club and where I saw the club, and it came to a happy medium. So it was very, very, it was very, very good. We got these young fellas on.
These players also had interest from other Super League clubs. They could have gone there. They didn't. Are you pleased in a way? Because potentially Broncos are going to be playing in the second division next year, but they still see this as the place that they want to be. Yeah,
that's right, Ramo. Toby Everett was chased after by a few Super League clubs, and Leeds were very, very interested in his signature. And I know Joey Keys, particularly on the back of the five or 6 weeks playing at the academy level, he had a lot of interest. Teams such as Hull KR and the like, and Harvey Burnett, I don't think he's understood his own personal ability yet. So I'm sure there would have been some clubs interested in him, and it is pleasing, Ramo, that players wanted to stay at home, as it were. So very pleasing that 1, we signed him up for a long term, and 2, they wanted to stay at the London Broncos.
And I know it's something we've mentioned before, but it really does go to show that this club is planning for the future, wants to take things forward and wants to build something that is their own.
Exactly, Ramo, and I think I mentioned to you in our last week's interview that we've got some new signings on the horizon, and I was alluding to these three young fellows that we kept here, but there's some more exciting news about to come. The next week or so, we'll be able to inform the general public out there and their fans that we are planning for the future, and we have got a couple of new signings on the horizon.
How does it sit with your current status in the league in terms of you're trying to sign up players, but potentially you're going to be in the second tier next year? Have you found it any tougher, any more difficult? We mentioned last week you're obviously going to have players leave. That happens sort of any end of season, regardless of where people end up in the table. Has it been difficult or easier to do the negotiations this way around?
I wouldn't suggest it's any easier, but with myself being transparent to the players, they know where we are. And a lot of those players have aspirations of playing Super League, and I would never prevent anyone from playing Super League or having the opportunity to better themselves. So for me, it's just about working within a budget and within a structure. Now, me and my staff have moved towards that. Rather than signing 33 players and what we currently have, we're going to sign 24 players, and we've got an allocation of, or a plan of what positions they are. So we've identified the players we certainly want to keep at the club, but we have got a backup plan for the players that want to move on. And it's business as usual. We're sitting in last spot, but we're very, very proactive. Where 50% of the players for 2015 and beyond have already been identified, targeted, and are signed.
How tough was that defeat on Friday in terms of your, momentum, your mental capacity within the club, and also your standing in the table? Yeah, it was disappointing, particularly with the amount of ball, Ramo, we had in the first half. We played some really good footy with the ball, and were able to get 5 repeat sets, 5 line dropouts, and we just weren't able to execute. I would have liked another score to go in at half-time, 16-4, which would have been a true reflection of how dominant we were in the first half. Equally in the second half, the Wildcats came out, and it was deja vu. They had 65% of the ball in the second half and all the territorial advantage. And this week we've been speaking about our mental toughness and our ability to stay in that arm wrestle and take good options, where probably that let us down a little bit in the back end of the second half when things got a bit tough. Wakefield were able to just get a bit further down the field. So it was disappointing, and needless to say, however, the boys came away reasonably unscathed, and we're looking real forward to go away to Huddersfield this weekend. Where do you stand on the penalty at the end of the game? Because a lot of people have said, should you have kicked it, gone for the 2, draw things level? But then I guess you've got to go the whole length of the field to win the game. And some of the team that I've heard, they were saying, well, if you try and run it, you win the game and you've only got 20 metres to go, rather than having to go the full length of the field once you're level, if it goes over. Yeah, 100%, Ramo. I mean, how long's a piece of string? My intentions were that let's draw it and have a crack, but the players felt, and I spoke to them after the game, that they had enough momentum and confidence, which I've been asking for weeks and weeks. So I can't knock them from having the opportunity to win the game or tie the game up. But certainly if they had that opportunity again, perhaps they might have taken the 2, but I would never be disappointed with a person for doing something they genuinely believe that in that time they were confident of doing. And you got Huddersfield again this weekend. One of your was your first game in charge, wasn't it, at the Hive? And you ran them close. We should have beaten them. So I guess another momentum swinger in your way. Yeah, 100%. We're looking for the second half momentum swing. I think we've been in front at 4 times at half time and been run down. So I would like to do a Wakefield in the first half and a Catalan Dragons second half when we come back with a deficit of 18 points. So hopefully we can merge those 2 together and come away with 2 points. But look, it won't be through lack of effort. It won't be through lack of preparation. We're looking forward to the challenge. We know they're in a team. They're in a purple patch right now. Had a really good game against Warrington on the weekend, and have got arguably the best and biggest pack in the competition, but we won't stand out from that. We're just going up there to enjoy ourselves, to do things a little bit better than what we have done, and come back with 2 points. And just finally on your selection, you've just been showing me the whiteboard of all the players that you've got available. At this point in the season, usually in previous years, Broncos have been struggling for bodies and haven't had the men around, but you've pretty much, I think, what they would call it, got a full stable.
Yeah, we have, apart from Kieran Dixon, who is 6 weeks ahead of schedule, everyone else would be available for selection. So we're in a good spot. We've got 33 players contracted, which of 32 would be available to play at any given time this week.
And how is Kieran? So 6 weeks ahead of schedule. When are you expecting him back, or when will he be available to potentially play?
He's been training for the last 3 weeks and will be available to undertake contact and collision activities next week. So the anticipation is for him to be ready in 4 weeks.
Always very open and honest when you sit down and talk to Joey Grima. Enjoyed a good few minutes chatting as well, not off the record but off tape with Joey in the office. He did actually at one point stand in the London Broncos office. They've got some little, they're like plaques on the wall, and it lists for the history of London Broncos which players have played in which shirt number. So if you imagine a black photo frame almost with the number 1, it lists who's played fullback or who's been the squad number 1 ever since the Broncos and what years they were. And obviously there's currently the names of the current squad up there on the wall, numbers 1 to 32, whatever it is. And I was chatting to Joe, and he did actually go through, so as we talked about the plans for the future, and pointing at each one said, a contract offered, leaving, retained, contract offered. I went through all of them very rapidly as we did. But I think what he was trying to emphasise is that they have offered the contracts for the players that they want to keep, and they're going through negotiations with many of them. Some of them they managed to tie down, and also, the odd leaving but got a replacement nearly signed or dealed or nearly done. So there are things. Again, no names, don't know any names, but there are things that are being done. And yes, I'm sure some of these you will start to see very soon. But let's now dive into Championship 1, and let's hear from the head coach of London Scholars, Joe Mabu. A tweet from Dave Williams, their captain, saying, "Great to get back to winning ways. Cheeky couple of tries too." Couple of tries for Dave Williams? What's going on? Maybe we should have talked to him on the podcast. But awesome effort from all the boys. #Scholars, says Dave Williams. They beat Oxford 28-52 away, the only southern side to win this weekend in Championship 1. They were given Performance of the Week as well in the RFL releases, which is why I thought I'd better catch up with head coach Joe Mabu.
Joe, first of all then, a victory at the weekend, and from the quotes that I've seen, you've said that we've been working towards this, and it was almost a complete 80-minute performance, which is what you've been looking for a few weeks now.
No, definitely. We've known that we've all spoken about things when things hasn't quite gone for us, and we've asked questions of ourselves as a team and coaching staff and players likewise. We've been talking about what we could have done better, what we didn't do in the game, and we always came to the same conclusion that once we start to game plan, we were more successful, and I think that's what we needed to get back to, and when we got back into it, it showed.
What was it that you had been missing? Because the weeks before, I guess you tried things, but it just hadn't worked for you.
Again, like I just said earlier, it's being consistent in what we're doing. Is sticking to what we set ourselves in training and as targets before the games. And in previous weeks, we would drift away from what we set out to do at the start, and I believe that's ultimately what the difference was to the weekend just gone, because we stuck to what we said we'd do almost for the length of the game.
How much needed was this victory as well? Because it's been a tough start for your season so far.
No, definitely. I think, like anything, it becomes habit forming. You lose one, you lose 2-3 games, and it seems just like things are not going your way. It was a much needed win in terms of morale, and the boys, seemed to rise to the occasion as well, which was important. And again, hopefully, this is signs of things to come, and we just keep building from that.
Had you been starting to feel any pressure with the results going the way that they had?
No, there's always pressure, even when you're winning you're winning every game. There's pressure not to lose any game. There's pressure not to lose against anyone. So there's always an element of pressure, irrespective of where you are on the table, and you want to win as many games as you can, and you don't want to lose to anyone. So there's always pressure. So for me, any pressure is no worse or less than any. So we just work hard, and hopefully it paid off.
You've done reasonably well this year in terms of numbers, getting them from the Broncos. Their injury situations are quite good at the moment, so I know you had a few there at the weekend. How has it been on dual registration this year? Have you found it useful?
It's always useful, and we provide a service for the players in terms of game time, and they give us the service of providing us the abilities, and definitely the contributed largely to what we do in an environment we're trying to build. They buy in and they work hard as same as the boys that we've got. So it's good. It's good.
And what's the aim for the rest of the season now? I guess you need to string a good run of results together to hopefully push yourself a bit further up the table.
Definitely. We're under no disillusion in terms of where we are on the table. One thing that we just need to establish is just take one game at a time, and just focus on that game, and make sure that we'll put in the performance that we did on the weekend, and we know there's areas that we still got to improve, and we're still letting quite a few points, and which means there's still areas within our defence we need to tighten up and fix up. So we're certainly going to look at that, during the weekend, and make sure that once we come back next weekend, that's certainly a part of our game that we look to get some focus on.
Quick word on Smokey Jr. I spoke to him a couple of weeks ago, and he updated me on his rehab. I know he's in training. He's not doing too much physically intensive rugby stuff at the moment, but how good is it to have him back around and in training with a prospect, of possibly being available in the future? No,
definitely. Smokey has a great mentality towards training and keeping himself fit. And you would not believe he joined in part of our training sessions last week. And he's such a positive person to be around, Smokey. And I'm sure his positiveness rubs off players, and I'm sure rubbed off some of the players that saw him in training. And obviously he had to take care of himself, so he joined in as much as he could, and he was effective.
And I know, you've obviously got a few players that you've obviously brought into the Scholars for this season, and, you continue to develop the own youngsters as well, like Smokey Jr. We see Broncos signing up the young local lads for their future. Smokey was talking about being a Scholars man through and through, similar to you, okay, you went to Broncos, you had your time with Harlequins Rugby League, but, you always considered yourself a Scholars man. It's great to see more of those people around.
No, definitely. I think, you look at any successful club, and the success of any club eventually is down to the juniors, it's down to the culture that they've built in, and that's how teams become successful later on. And that's what we're trying to achieve at the club at the moment, is bringing in those local talents, and again to give those guys an opportunity even to play at a higher level than where we are, and until we're able to sort of catch up to the rest of the leagues.
And is it the only real sensible and sustainable way of building a club in the South? Because it's something that Scholars have concentrated on for a few years, the juniors, and I think, your A team have done reasonably well over the last few years, haven't they? Investing in that side of the future that you might not see at the top level at the moment, but it's always going to benefit you further down the line.
No, definitely. I think, I'm not in a position to too much comment on the top level, but if I may, you look at the Wigan. Wigan are currently successful because of the juniors. Same as Leeds, and I watched some of the games on the weekend, and they were all local players, or players that played for the junior clubs that were scoring the tries. That were the difference for those top sides. So again, it's a no-brainer that juniors and making sure that the future of the club is planned for is the way to go.
Well, it's all the Joes today, isn't it? That's Joe Mabou, head coach of London Scholars. Already had JOE GRIMA and JOE KEYES. But always good to chat to Joe Mabou. Again, it's been a tough season for them so far, and they need to continue that progress. And good to see them eventually everything's slotting into place and a victory. It'd be nice for them to get a couple of victories at Enfield Town as well in their remaining games there, and still looking to a sort of solution as well for what they'll do for their sort of final end games of the season, where they're going to have to or not be able to go back to the New River Stadium, especially for Friday night lights. And so it's obviously old Joe's on the programme today. So now we'll hear from Joe Ramsdale. No, it's not my actual sister. It's a guy called Mark Ramsdale. I just thought I'd call him Joe. He's no relation either. He's involved with the All-Parliamentary Rugby League group, the Oxford Rugby League team, organises a varsity match, and does plenty of other things too. He's just this week set up the Rugby League Business Network. It launched just today, so I thought I'd find out more. So, Mark, tell us a bit more about the Rugby League Business Network.
The Rugby League Business Network is essentially very simple. It is designed to bring people together through their passion for rugby league, particularly people with an interest in business, whether they're in terms of professional careers, setting up business, developing a career, or things like that. And it really is just designed to get everybody into the game who might have a need to talk about things business related.
I was going to say, it does concentrate on the business side of things, doesn't it? So, I mean, obviously you're organising lots of different networking events, but you're looking for businesses, like-minded people that might want to be involved in a business sense within rugby league.
Yes, but also particularly from the personal side of things as well. You know better than anyone else just how large the fan base for rugby league in the capital is, for example. And I'm not just going to focus on the capital with the business network, but there is an opportunity there for people to get together through their shared passion for the game, and in so doing ultimately bring businesses into the sport that might, for example, consider getting involved financially with the game to support it and in terms of its development.
You mentioned obviously it's a national thing. It's not concentrated on London, although I know a lot of your business interests are in the south. But in terms of that attraction, I guess it's one of the things that, with rugby league being a predominantly northern sport, is the business in the south a bit of an untapped resource?
Absolutely, I think it is. Again, I speak to a lot of people who love our game, and they live in London. They've migrated down predominantly for work, and this is an opportunity for them to get together through their work and their business interests, and share stories, share excitement over the game. And I think that's what it's all about. It just brings them together with kindred spirits and presents them with an opportunity to network and develop contacts that might lead somewhere. And if we can do that through interesting and different types of events, perhaps different from the norm in terms of rugby league events, I think we have an opportunity to engage a lot of people that might only really watch the game on television.
And just browsing around your website as well, I see that these aren't just little networking events, but of course they're tied to rugby league events.
I mean, we'd be silly not to look at rugby league specific events, so I'm quite keen to take tables or boxes of major events for the Rugby League Business Network and bring people together. So, for example, if an individual wanted to bring a client along to the Challenge Cup final, but couldn't find anyone else in their company to take a box with them, they could take two places, and there'll be 6 other people or 10 other people there that might have opportunities to come and see the game at its best in one of the major venues that are holding that, and that might be Challenge Cup, be it Magic Weekend or the Grand Final.
So are you sort of just like a business body, I guess, looking for people who are interested in the sport, or smaller groups of people or individuals who just want to experience more rugby league, get involved, etc.?
Yeah, I think there's a bit of a catch-all there. We've got an opportunity to bring individuals into the game that might just watch it on television by nature of where they live. It's also to bring them together for professional development. It's also to bring them and their clients' contacts who might not know the game into the sport. And just looking at the people that joined this morning since we launched, I've had contacts from the likes of, and I'm not going to name any business names, but I've had contacts from the head of private major national banks, who leads on London and the South East, who's a huge Leeds fan. And he's really keen to get involved. Similarly, I've had a Hull FC fan who is the owner of quite a substantial law firm, who's been in touch with me and very keen to get involved and come to events in the near future. Hopefully, the two of them will bring clients, they'll bring others as well that can not only support the business network, but might consider getting involved with the game. You don't know where this might lead, and I think that's partly the beauty of it.
I was going to say, I mean, obviously the clubs in the south should be sort of fairly supportive of this idea, I guess, because if there are people coming into the game, like you say, they could go on and want to involve themselves more in other things. I mean, have you had any response from any of the clubs in the south in terms of how they feel about it?
I've been talking to the likes of Broncos about this, and I'm quite keen to work with them and the other clubs as well. I think one of the things that this can do is work closely with clubs to facilitate events and activities that will bring their fans who are involved in business at any level to those clubs. So absolutely, I think there are opportunities there. And I've had those conversations with northern-based clubs as well, because it's not just about any specific club, but certainly with the level of business interest based in the south, I think there is substantial opportunity for the business network to work closely with clubs and develop offerings with those clubs to further their own aims.
And how does it all work in terms of, membership and stuff? Is it paid or is it free?
It's free to join, absolutely free to join. We might look at a paid membership in the future for a few individuals that want to take advantage of getting access to boxes and things like that. But it's absolutely free, and wherever possible, we have as many free events as we can. It'll all be supported by sponsors, and so what we're looking to do is create as big a network of individuals as we possibly can that has some appeal to sponsors, so that they would like to engage with them, and they can come and talk rugby league over a pint or even a glass of wine. They're given what we're trying to do to talk about rugby league in a different way. So yes, absolutely free. People can go to the website rugbyleaguebusiness.net and just sign up and keep an eye on the events that are coming up. And if they want to suggest any, very happy to look at anything like that as well.
And I saw your website being a .net website, rugbyleaguebusiness.net. Is that to do with network? Was that a clever little tie in there?
Absolutely. If we tried to have rugbyleaguebusinessnetwork.com, I think that would be too long. We did send an email out this morning with .com as well. We don't have nets in rugby league, of course, normally, and .com slipped out in the original press release. But yes, rugbyleaguebusiness.net was a conscious decision to keep it short as possible, but also I think in the same way the network name it does exactly what it says on the tin, Rugby League Business Network. It's all very straightforward, and we just want to crack on and do a very good job for the sport.
And you're obviously involved as a director at Oxford. Championship 1 is an amazing division for this year, and Oxford not doing too badly.
No, I think when we set the club up, we looked at our growth and our development, and it would be one of the plans we had was to bed into the local community and in the south more generally, and offer the fans a rugby league spectacle that they could come and enjoy when we're at home. And I think we've done that. It wasn't necessarily just about winning games week in, week out, trying to win the league. We wanted to make sure that we got players and children involved in the sport in Oxford and elsewhere from the surrounding areas, so they could come in and ultimately support the club in future years as well. And we're seeing some great results in terms of the players that we've managed to develop, and also some really strong interest from local schools and community clubs. So all in all, it's going very well indeed. Off the pitch, I think that is reflected well on the pitch, although we're not top of the league, but I think we're very happy with the position we've got at the moment.
And how's Carl Tomata getting on? Spoke to him a couple of weeks ago, but I mean, you'll remember from when he played at Broncos and Harlequins Rugby League that every time he picked up the ball, he never seemed to be one to back out of anything. Always very strong going forward. How is he with Oxford this year?
Well, I think it's exactly the same in terms of his mentality off the pitch. He's a stalwart rugby league player, really gets stuck in, and it's fantastic that Tony Benson's brought him in. I think he's getting involved with the team, and I think the players as well who might not have had the opportunity to play at the top level are benefiting from his experience and that kind of leadership in terms of the physicality from the front. And I think that's stood us in good stead for the few games that he's played for us already, and really quite keen to see him develop.
Brilliant, Mark. Thank you. I think we'll leave it there.
All right. Thank you. How was that?
Yeah, good. Just give us you said Tony Ray, not Tony Benson. So just give us the one sentence. Just say Tony Benson's done a great job bringing him to the club. Just say that sentence. How would I do?
He's done a brilliant job in enabling him to work with the players and develop them off the field in terms of the attitude toward training, as well as on the field with his leadership during the 80 minutes. That's
Mark Ramsdale. No relation. Thou doth protest too much, or whatever the phrase is. Often, I mean, Mark's hosted a number of events where I've gone to be MC or speaker, and it's all very confusing when Mark Ramsdale, Hansby and Ramsdale, and I had an email the other day from someone saying, "Oh, I know your brother Mark." It's like, no, he's not my brother. We're not related. I'm sure if you tracked the history back, he hails from St Helens. I'm from the northwest as well. You might find some sort of a connection way back in our histories, but not that we know of. That's Mark Ramsdale, the founder of the Rugby League Business Network. It's good to see him. Good, a new venture. Be interesting to see where it goes in the future, and as we touched on, could well be a good thing for clubs in the south as well. Now that's it for Rugby League Down South for this week, and also there's going to be no podcast for the next 2 weeks. In that time, believe me, you're probably going to see some other Broncos signings. I'll wrap up all the news when the podcast returns in early July. Thank you once again for listening.